Lamarck's theory of evolution, also called the theory of inheritance of acquired character, which an organism gains through its life experiences, are transferred to its next generation, which is not possible since acquired characters does not bring any change to an individual's set of genes, unlike Darwin theory that has been supported by a lot of evidences. Lamarck's theory of inheritance has been disproved because his theory has proven wrong about his study on genetics. Darwin knew that traits are passed on, but he never understood how they are passed on. Lamarck's theory was incorrect because he did not know how traits were inherited and that the organism behavior has no effect on inherited characteristics. A major downfall of his theory was that he could not explain how this and his theory might happen.
The characteristic has been disproved. This was done in two major ways. The first is experiment. We have seen through many real examples and observations that changes that occur in an animal during life are not passed on the animal's offspring. This and other examples shows that Lamarck's theory does not explain how long formed and became the way it is. The other way that Lamarck's theory has been proven wrong is the study of genetics. Darwin knew that traits are passed on, but he never understood how they are passed on. During the time when Darwin's first book first came out, Gregor Mendel, who discovered genetics, was just starting his experiment. However, now we know a lot more about genetics, and we know that the only way for traits to be passed on the through genes and that genes cannot be affected by the outside world. The only thing that can be affected is which gene sets there are in a population, and this is determined by which individual die and which ones live. This is the other way that we have learned that the fruits of an animal's efforts cannot be inherited by its offspring.
Lamarck is best known for his theory of inheritance of acquired characteristic, which is first presented in 1801. He said that change is made by what the organisms want or need. But this theory rejected by Darwin when he suggested that the acquired character which an organism gained through to its life experiences are transferred to its generation, which is not possible. Darwin has been supported by a lot of evidence in this theory which done in two major ways. First is experiment and study of genetics. Done through many real examples and observations, but in these major ways does not explain how life formed and become the way it is. And Darwin knew that traits are passed on, but he never understood how they are passed on.
While Lamarck's theory was being rejected, Darwin's theory has been supported by a lot of evidence. Lamarck's theory of inheritance of acquired characteristics has been disapproved. This was done in two major ways. The first is by experiment. We have seen through many real examples and observation that changes that occurs in an animal during life are not passed on to the animal's offspring. If a dog's ears are cropped short, its puppies are still born with the long ears. If someone exercises every day, runs marathons, eats well, and is generally very healthy, the fitness is not passed on. And the person's children still have to work just as hard to get that fit and healthy. This and other examples show that Lamarck's theory doesn't explain how life formed and became the way it is.
Theory of Lamarck, which rejected by Darwin. Lamarck's theory of inheritance of acquired characteristic has been disapproved. The other way that Lamarck's theory has been proven wrong is the study of genetics. So Darwin knew that the traits are passed on but never understood how they are passed on. So Lamarck's theory was incorrect because he did not know how traits were inherited, that the organism behavior has no effect on inherited characteristics. So Lamarck's theory of evolution, also called theory of inheritance of acquired characters, was rejected, since they suggested that the acquired character which an organism gained through its life experience are transferred to its next generation, which is not possible since character does not bring any change.
So, Lamarck's theory was incorrect because he did not know how traits were inherited and that the organism behavior has no effect on inherited characteristics. Some evidence refutes Lamarck's ideas because the horns of ruminants have resulted from the ruminants beating their heads together during combats. These examples, which appear naive in light of later discoveries, constitute some of the evidence on which Lamarck rested his theory.
Darwin's theory has been supported by a lot of evidence. Lamarck's theory of inheritance of acquired characteristics has been disproved. This was done in two major ways. The first is by experiment. We have seen through many real examples and observation that changes that occur in an animal during life are not passed on to the animal offspring. If a dog ear are cropped short, its puppy are still born with long ear. If someone exercises every day, runs marathon, eat well, and is generally very healthy, the fitness is not passed on to the person's children, still have to work just as hard to get and fit and healthy. This and other examples show that Lamarck's theory does not explain how life formed and become the way it is.
Lamarck's theory of evolution, also called as theory of inheritance of acquired characteristic, was rejected since he suggested that the acquired characters which an organism gained through its life experience are transferred to its next generation, which is not possible since acquired characters does not bring any change to an individual set of genes.
Lamarck's theory is one of the examples that not all theory are true and realistic. Somehow we need to proven and tested evidence to prove and to know people. In Theory of Lamarck, Darwin discovered that this theory is much more realistic example. That's why Darwin proven Lamarck theory was wrong. Example of it that runner become fit but their fitness will be not fast in genetic received by their children. In genetic way, we know that the only way for treat to be fast by on through genes, and not genes can affected by the outside world. The only thing that can be affected is which genes set there are in a population, and they are determined by which individuals die and which one lives. This and other example that show that Lamarck theory was not true and does not explain how life formed and become the way it is.
A great deal of research backs up Darwin's hypothesis. A Lamarck's theory of inheritance of acquired characteristic has been disproved. This was accomplished in 2 days. The first is by trial and error. Changes of the rise in an animal during its lifetime are not carried on the animal's descendants, as we have seen in many real-life cases and findings. Even if a dog's ears are cropped short, its puppies will have long ears when they are born. If someone walks every day, completes marathons, eats well, and is otherwise balanced, the fitness is not handed on, and the person's offspring must try almost as hard to achieve the same level of fitness. This and other examples show that Lamarck's theory does not explain how life formed and became the way it is.
Shall we have breakfast together?